Paying Etsy fees is one of the best things you can do for your small handmade business, and that is a hill I will die on. So I always hear a lot of talk about Etsy fees being insane. They charge so much, the prices are ridiculous, and if you're going to be a handmade seller, you simply can't continue to sell on Etsy long term or you'll never make money. And I just don't believe that. From my own personal experience, that has not been true. I made almost $50,000 last year on Etsy, well paying Etsy fees, and yes, I paid a lot of fees, but without that, I wouldn't have a small business. So I firmly am in the camp that Etsy fees are a necessity for small handmade businesses. Here's the thing. No matter where you sell, you're going to have fees. If you have your own site on Shopify, Shopify's or charge you fees. If you sell in person, Square is going to charge you fees. You're going to have to pay market fees. There is always going to be costs associated with selling your handmade products. And that's normal and expected and should be part of your product cost. If those fees are part of your product cost, you're still profitable and those fees don't matter. Etsy has the unique capability of also being your sales agent. I do not pay for marketing. I don't know how to market. I'm terrible at Instagram. I don't know how to promote my business, but Etsy does. I don't get my own customers for the most part. Etsy does. Now this is a little different because my business has been going for a while. I have some repeat customers. I have people who found me at in-person markets and do shop on Etsy. But most of my traffic is Etsy search. And why I'm paying those fees is so that Etsy brings me those sales. The cost to acquire my customers is those Etsy fees. And by being strategic about my product pricing, I've been able to make sure my business is still profitable despite Etsy's large fees. And I do that by being very specific about my numbers, knowing how much my product costs, knowing how much I need to charge to be profitable, and making sure I am taking my time seriously. So about 2 years ago, I started using a spreadsheet that has all of the math calculated for me that tells me how much I need to charge for my products to be profitable. I've updated that to also include how much it needs to be profitable on Etsy. So for my products, I have two costs. I have my profitable costs. So what I look at is this is the amount that if I were just going to hand a product to a person, meet at the grocery store, and they were going to give me cash, this would be the cost I would need to charge to value my time, the product development, all of that. And then there's a price I need to charge that includes the Etsy fees. That is what my items are listed for on Etsy. So that when Etsy takes their cut, what is left is my profitable price, the price I need to make money. And I'm going to share that spreadsheet with you, so don't worry about it. I can walk you through all the math, but why? That's just silly. So all the formulas are calculated into the spreadsheet. I'm going to walk you through how to use it. But if you're really concerned about selling on Etsy, if you feel like you don't make any money from your products when you're selling on Etsy, it's time to take a look at your pricing and decide if you're actually profitable. How much are you paying yourself per hour? Personally, I pay myself $20 an hour. I've kind of been toying with the idea of raising that to $25 an hour, haven't committed to it yet, but your time is valuable, and if you want your handmade products to become a true business, you need to be charging it like that. So that's enough talking. Let's go to the spreadsheet and I'll show you how to price.
So this is the spreadsheet I use to help me calculate all of the prices for my Etsy products. It does the math for you, makes it really nice and quick. So just a quick example of how I work this spreadsheet. So I have an example product in here. Let's say that this is, for me, one of my Kindle sleeves. So I type the name in here, Kindle sleeves. So the way this spreadsheet works is anything that's in green is something you can edit, and then all of the yellow is calculated for you. So there's formulas built into the spreadsheet to do the math for you based on that pricing formula and the Etsy fee schedule. So Personally, for me, I pay myself $20 an hour. I use a 4 times product markup. This is pretty standard in most businesses, is a 4 times product markup for retail costs. That allows you to use a 2 times profit markup for wholesale, but you can always adjust that as well, depending on, how you want to price your business. So I have $20 is what I pay myself an hour, 4 times product markup. This doesn't really affect anything, it's just so you know. So let's say for one of my Kindle sleeves, it cost me $4 in supplies. So supplies would be all of my fabric, my snaps, the interfacing, everything like that would be in the supplies. I also include in there any fees or costs associated with packaging the item. So like my poly mailers and things like that go in here. Each Kindle sleeve takes me 25 minutes to make. So here I have 25. This is for labor time, again, in minutes. So if something takes you an hour, you would put 60. Based on the time it costs, based on the time it takes and my hourly wage, that's how I get my labor rate here. And again, that's calculated for you. Overhead rate is optional, but something I highly recommend factoring in. So for me, I use $1 per product. This is for everything else business associated, but that isn't necessarily focused on an individual product. So my subscription to QuickBooks, my subscription to my email server, any other business related costs. So I factor in $1 to each product to cover those kind of costs. Again, that's up to you how much you put there. May depend on what kind of products you're selling, what kind of overhead costs you have, things like that. Based on all of that information, the formula gives me my retail price. So a Kindle sleeve that takes me 25 minutes to make and costs me $4 in supplies should cost $25.33, and that would be paying myself $20 an hour to make them if I was like an employee of my business. So if this would be the price of, like, if I'm selling in person, straight cash, no fees, this would be the price I would need to charge for my product here. Okay, which is great, but one of the biggest concerns with Etsy is the fees. So how do we take that into account? So Etsy charges fees based on a couple different factors, and sometimes, depending on your shop, Etsy can encourage you to do free shipping as well. You also get charged fees on the shipping, you get charged fees on the transaction, there's transaction fees, there's listing fees, there's a whole bunch of different fees associated. So this formula, the spreadsheet is set up to give you the pricing based on 2 different formulas, depending on what you want to do. So my products cost an average of $5.50 to ship. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, but on average, they cost $5.50 to ship. So I put $5.50 here in my shipping fee. Based on the retail price of my product, so this is the price I need to make in order to be profitable, and the shipping fee, I would need to list my item on Etsy for $28.77 in order to get back $25.33 after the Etsy fees, if I am charging shipping separately from my item. If I want to include free shipping in my item, and again, if you are going to include shipping, or if you're going to offer free shipping, the shipping is not actually free. It needs to be included in the product price. So your price is more expensive, but it looks like you get free shipping. No one is actually offering free shipping. Even Amazon, the price of the shipping is baked into the product. So if I want to offer free shipping on Etsy, I should be charging $34.27, and after all of the fees, that would give me the $25.33 that I need to be profitable. So you can kind of play around with this. Some shops really like offering free shipping or free shipping after a certain threshold. I do not offer free shipping in my shop. I charge people the shipping cost. So I would list the product here at $28.77. I might actually round it a little bit. I might just, list it at $29 or something like that. But that's, kind of up to you. And this is set up so that, you can keep going all the way through and you can kind of play with it a little bit. So say I start a new wholesale account and all of a sudden the supply cost for my Kindle sleeves is down to $3. Great. I'm going to change that there, and you can see it changes everything else along here. So it's also really good to help you figure out where it makes the most sense to kind of cut costs. If I cut $1 off of each of the supply cost, I can drop that price by $4, which is significant, and allows me to actually charge $25 or $24.50 for my Kindle sleeves. And again, you can kind of play with this a little bit too. So say, all right, I get this down, or this is still at $4, but I actually figured out my overhead costs are more like $2.50. Boom, $2.50. So now I need to be charging $30.42 on Etsy in order to make my profitable price. The retail price, the retail price here, this is your profitable price. This is what you want to be taking home after all of this is subtracted from your Etsy sales. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I can do my best to answer. I do also have a second sheet on here where you can kind of work through what your cost is for your product. So like for this one here, say I'm working on my Kindle sleeves again, so I do my metal snaps. Okay, my metal snaps, I buy them in quantities of 50, and it cost me $10.99 to buy 50 of them. That would break down to basically 22 cents per snap. Now keep in mind I use 2 snaps per item, so I would need to multiply that by 2. But you can kind of go through here and figure out all of your different items and how that works. And then I have a place to put like the store I purchase them from. If you're curious, I purchase my snaps from Cam Snaps, and then a product link just to make it easier to reorder and things like that. Okay, that's the spreadsheet. As someone who hates math, I hope it is helpful for the rest of you that hate math. Again, if you have questions, feel free to leave me a comment and I can do my best to answer them. And happy selling!